Hello Army, welcome back to the channel, and if you are new here, welcome, because today we are covering a concert moment that happened just yesterday and that has been dominating every corner of Army's social media ever since, and I genuinely could not wait to sit down and give it the full treatment it deserves. We are talking about the BTS Arirang World Tour show at Stanford Stadium on May 16, 2026. We are talking about a surprise that nobody in that stadium saw coming, that nobody who was watching fan live streams at home saw coming, that was so completely and so perfectly unexpected that the moment it happened the collective reaction of everyone present, all 50,000 plus people inside Stanford Stadium, was the specific kind of gasping, screaming, completely involuntary response that you can only get from a genuine surprise from people you love. We are talking about NO. We are talking about Anpanman. And we are talking about what Jungkook did at the end of that concert that sent the entire stadium into one final wave of absolute chaos. So get comfortable, because this story has everything: nostalgia, joy, chaos, Jungkook being Jungkook, and the specific overwhelming quality of watching a group that you have loved for years remind you exactly why you loved them in the first place. Let's start with the context of the Stanford Stadium show, because understanding what it means for BTS to be performing there helps set the stage for everything that followed. Stanford Stadium, located on the campus of Stanford University in the San Francisco Bay Area, is one of the iconic large-scale outdoor venues in the United States, with a capacity that made the BTS show there one of the largest individual concert events of the entire Arirang World Tour North American leg. The Bay Area has always been one of BTS's strongest and most passionate American markets. California Army is famous for its energy, its organization, and its ability to create the kind of concert atmosphere that elevates a show from a performance into an experience. Coming to Stanford Stadium for the first night of what was planned as a 3-night run was already a massive occasion before anything unexpected happened. And then something unexpected happened. The Arirang World Tour, as it has progressed across its global run, has developed a specific and beloved tradition that Army has come to anticipate and celebrate at every stop: the fan-voted song segment. Each city's audience has the opportunity to vote for legacy tracks that they want to hear BTS perform, songs from across their catalog that are not part of the standard setlist but that hold specific significance for that particular fan community. This tradition has produced memorable and deeply emotional moments at every tour stop where it has been implemented, because the songs that fans vote for tend to be the ones that mean the most to them personally, the ones that were there during formative moments, the ones that have accumulated years of emotional association, the ones that connect to a specific time in both the fans' lives and BTS's career. At Stanford Stadium on May 16th, the fan-voted selections were N.O and Anpanman. And if you are an Army of any significant tenure, those two song titles together just produced a very specific reaction in your chest, because these are not just songs. These are artifacts. These are time capsules from completely different eras of BTS's career, each of which carries enormous emotional and historical weight, and each of which, when performed in 2026 by 7 men who have lived through everything that has happened since those songs were first released, becomes something almost unbearably moving. N.O was released in 2013. Jungkook was 15 years old. The group had debuted less than a year earlier. They were a small group from a small company making hip-hop influenced music that the Korean entertainment industry had not fully figured out how to categorize. N.O was one of their early singles, a defiant, energetic, angular track with a specific political edge, criticizing the educational pressure that Korean youth faced and the systems that demanded conformity at the expense of individual expression. It was not the kind of song that the pop establishment of 2013 expected from a group of teenagers, and it was one of the early signs that BTS was going to be something different from what K-pop had produced before. Hearing N.O performed in a 50,000 capacity American stadium in 2026, by the same group that recorded it 13 years earlier, is an experience that operates on multiple levels simultaneously. There is the pure sonic joy of it, the track still bangs, the energy of it is completely undimmed by the passage of time, and BTS performing it with the full production capacity and the full live performance expertise they have accumulated over more than a decade is a genuinely different experience from what the original recording could have offered. But there is also something much deeper than that. There is the specific emotional quality of witnessing a journey, of standing at a point in time and being able to look back across 13 years of work and growth and change and all the extraordinary things that happened between 2013 and now, and to hear the beginning of that journey echoing forward into the present. For Army who have been there since 2013, or who have gone back and learned the early catalog and understand what those early songs represent in the history of the group. N.O at Stanford Stadium in 2026 is something that words genuinely struggle to contain. It is the specific kind of emotional experience that only exists between people who have shared a long journey, who have been through things together, even if the nature of that togetherness is the specific fan-artist relationship where one side was always more visible than the other. 13 years of songs and concerts and Weber's posts and live streams and military service and comebacks and world tours, and then N.O playing at Stanford Stadium, and suddenly all of it is present simultaneously. Now let's talk about Jungkook specifically, because his presence in the N.O performance is a particularly remarkable thing to think about. Jungkook was 15 in 2013. He was the youngest member of a group that was still figuring out who it was and what it was going to be. He has talked in interviews, particularly in the Rolling Stone feature earlier this year, about not fully having a sense of self, about spending his entire public life growing up in front of cameras, without the usual private space that most people have to figure out who they are. And N.O is from that time. N.O is from the years when Jungkook was a teenager navigating not just the normal challenges of adolescence but the specific and extraordinary challenges of being a globally observed public figure at the same time. And now he is 28. And he is performing N.O at Stanford Stadium. And the distance between those 2 points, between the 15-year-old who recorded that track in 2013 and the 28-year-old who performed it live in California in 2026, is visible in everything about how he inhabits the song now. The same choreography, but done by a body that has been trained and refined and pushed and developed for 13 more years. The same lyrics, but delivered by a voice that has been worked on and developed and matured into one of the most distinctive and most technically accomplished instruments in contemporary popular music. The same person, but profoundly, completely different, in ways that make the performance something entirely new even though the song is entirely old. That gap, between who he was when the song was made and who he is now, is what makes the N.O performance at Stanford Stadium so emotionally overwhelming for people who understand the history. It is not nostalgia for its own sake. It is something more complex and more meaningful than nostalgia. It is the specific emotion of witnessing growth across a long arc, of being present at a point in someone's journey where they can look back at where they started and you can see the whole distance between those 2 points in a single performance. Now let's talk about Onpanman, because while N.O operates in the register of historical weight and emotional depth, Onpanman operates in a completely different register, the register of pure, uncontainable joy. Onpanman was released in 2018 as part of the Love Yourself Tear album, and it has become one of the most beloved tracks in the BTS catalog, not for its artistic sophistication but for its spirit. Onpanman is a song about inadequacy and perseverance, about being the weakest superhero, the one who gets his powers from his face and loses them when it gets wet, but who shows up and tries anyway because showing up is what matters. It is funny and warm and self-deprecating and ultimately deeply sincere, and it has the specific quality of making everyone who hears it feel simultaneously seen and energized. In the context of a live concert, Onpanman is one of those songs that completely changes the atmosphere of the room the moment it starts. The choreography is iconic, there are specific moves that ARMY knows by heart and has been doing along with BTS at every performance since 2018. The energy it creates is communal and joyful and slightly chaotic in exactly the right way. And when it was played at Stanford Stadium as the second fan-voted surprise of the evening, the response from the crowd was everything you would expect from a Bay Area ARMY that has been waiting years for this moment. The combination of N.O and Onpanman as the 2 fan-voted songs for the Stanford show is also worth thinking about carefully, because it represents a very specific choice by the audience, a choice that encompasses both the seriousness and the joy of what BTS means to the people who have followed them. N.O for the weight and the history. Onpanman for the warmth and the delight. One song that asks you to feel the full depth of 13 years. One song that asks you to let go of all of that and just be happy together for a few minutes. Together, they create a kind of emotional portrait of what the BTS ARMY relationship actually is: serious and playful, profound and silly, full of complicated feelings and uncomplicated joy existing side by side without contradiction. Now let's get to the moment that has been generating perhaps the most discussion from the Stanford show, which is what Jungkook did at the end of the concert. The details of exactly what happened have been documented across multiple fan cam accounts and fan reports, and they paint a picture of Jungkook being very specifically, very deliberately, very characteristically himself in the closing moments of the show. He teased the fans in the way that only Jungkook can tease, which is to say with a quality of genuine playfulness that does not come from a desire to frustrate but from a deep comfort with an affection for the audience, a comfort so complete that he can play with them, can be unpredictable and surprising with them, in the same way that you can only be playful with people you are truly comfortable with. The specific nature of the teasing has generated enormous amounts of content and commentary from ARMY who were there and ARMY who watched from home, and the consistent thread through all of those accounts is the quality of the reaction it produced, which was the kind of reaction that you can only get when someone you love does something that surprises you in a way that is completely characteristic of who they are. Jungkook teasing fans is not a departure from who Jungkook is. It is one of the most essential expressions of who he is. It is the golden magne being exactly the golden magne, at the end of a concert that had already given everyone in that stadium more than they could contain, deciding that the night needed one more thing. The tradition of fan-voted songs at the Arirang World Tour shows has been one of the most beloved and most discussed features of the tour since it was first introduced, and the Stanford selections, N.O and Anpanman, add a particularly special chapter to that tradition. The ability to vote for songs gives ARMY a sense of genuine participation in the concert experience, a sense that what happens on stage is not just something being done for them but something being done with them, in response to them, shaped by their own choices and preferences and loves. And when the group then performs those songs with the kind of commitment and the kind of genuine emotional investment that N.O and Anpanman received at Stanford, it feels like a conversation rather than a presentation. Like 7 people and 50,000 people making something together. Let's also talk about what the Stanford show represents in the context of BTS's relationship with American audiences specifically, because this is something that deserves attention. The United States has been one of the most important and most intensely contested markets in BTS's global journey. It is the market where breaking through took the longest, where the music industry establishment was most resistant, and where the eventual breakthrough was most consequential in terms of what it meant for K-pop's global legitimacy. BTS in American stadiums, BTS performing N.O and Anpanman for Bay Area ARMY, Jungkook teasing fans at the end of a Stanford stadium show, is the culmination of that years-long journey. And it comes in a year when BTS's American profile has never been higher. The Arirang album debuting at #1 on the Billboard 200 for 3 consecutive weeks. The World Cup final halftime show announcement with Madonna and Shakira. The sold-out stadium shows. All of it together creates a context in which the Stanford show is not just a concert but a chapter in a much longer story, the story of how a group from Seoul became one of the defining musical acts of their generation globally, and how that global significance eventually landed with full force in the country whose entertainment establishment had been the last major holdout. Jungkook at Stanford is a specifically American version of everything we have been watching on this tour. The teasing at the end of the show has a quality of ease to it, of someone who was completely at home in a space that was not always welcoming, who has done the work and built the relationship and earned the right to play. The Jungkook who performed N.O in 2013 was a 15-year-old learning what it meant to be on stage. The Jungkook who performed N.O at Stanford in 2026 is someone who has spent 13 years becoming exactly who he is, in front of everyone, and who is now so completely himself that even the teasing at the end of a sold-out stadium show is an act of genuine artistic expression. That is where this journey has arrived. And there are still 2 more nights at Stanford Stadium to come, plus the rest of the Arirang World Tour running through March 2027. The fan-voted songs will change at each stop. The surprises will keep coming. Jungkook will keep being Jungkook in every way that means. And ARMY will keep showing up and feeling everything and documenting it and sharing it with each other and with anyone new who might be discovering what this community is for the very first time. If you are watching this video and you are new to BTS, if the World Cup final announcement brought you here, or if a concert clip appeared on your timeline and you ended up going down a rabbit hole that led to this video, welcome. The N.O performance at Stanford Stadium is a good place to start understanding what this is about. Not just the song, not just the performance, but the whole thing, the 13-year journey, the relationship between 7 people and millions of fans, the specific quality of joy and depth and surprise and warmth that characterizes what BTS does when they do it right. Which is almost always. And was absolutely, completely, undeniably, and overwhelmingly right at Stanford Stadium on May 16, 2026. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, it genuinely helps the channel reach more people who need to see this. Drop a comment below telling me your reaction to N.O and On Ponman being the fan-voted songs at Stanford. Did you vote? Were you there? Or are you watching from home and wishing you had been in that stadium? Subscribe if you have not already, share this with your fellow ARMY, and I will see you in the next one. Purple you all.